J. Robert Oppenheimer was a theoretical physicist. He was born April 27th, 1904, and he died in 1967. He was the father of the atomic bomb, although he really wasn't. Many people worked on the Manhattan Project to create the bomb. It's not like the man wanted the fame that he garnered from doing this anyways. If we're being honest, he hated it way too much. Like, he hated himself after this shit. Oppenheimer helped create the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, although he didn't really get the choice on whether or not they were dropped on those two cities. He never stopped feeling guilty over killing 200,000 people. During the height of the Cold War, the tensions between the US and Russia were so high that they never seemed like they were going to come down. Oppenheimer died of throat cancer during this period, filled with regret and remorse, and thinking he killed the human race. This is shown in the movie Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, which is probably one of the greatest directors of our time. I mean, have you seen any of his movies? This is one of the best pieces of film I've seen in a long time. The last movie I saw that was this good was Into the Spider-Verse. While the two aren't comparable in many ways, such as one being historical fiction and the other being an animated movie about Spider-Man, they're still both absolutely phenomenal films. Like, seriously, if you haven't watched either of them yet, then you're doing something wrong. As always, spoilers ahead. Oppenheimer is a beautiful masterpiece of a film. Calling it a movie is understating this shit, dude. Now, I know that not everybody is going to love it as much as I did, but personally, I thought it was one of the best movies that I've seen in the last decade. Mind you, I was a literal child a decade ago, so there are so many things to talk about with this film. The performances, the direction, lighting, script, characters, and so much more. I mean, this is filled to the brim with a bunch of A-list actors like RDJ, Florence Pugh, Rami Malek, Emily Blunt, John Connor from Terminator Genisys, and of course, Cillian Murphy. I was absolutely thrilled to see this movie, specifically because of Cillian Murphy. He's one of my favorite actors, and he does an absolutely phenomenal job being J. Robert Oppenheimer. He embodies the role, and it shows in this film. I mean, seriously, he does an amazing performance. I don't like making videos that are too long because I like it to be easily digestible for you guys and also not go too in-depth so I don't bore you. This means this won't be the most in-depth Oppenheimer video you can find because there's so many other videos you can watch, even about the man himself, nevertheless the movie. But I will talk about a few of my favorite things in this movie. So, please stick around and listen to me blab on for a couple of more minutes. The way this movie is shot is like no other. And to compare it, we'll talk about the last video that I made, which was about Mission Impossible 7, which is shot really great, but this is like a whole new level compared to that shit. I talked about the way that Mission Impossible 7 was filmed briefly in the last video, but this, I need to talk about this, okay? Every shot is clearly meticulously placed out to fit exactly where it should be in this film. Every last shot makes sense and shows the world how Christopher Nolan wants it portrayed. A world that's seen through the eyes of Oppenheimer is confusing at first. It's a world that's unfair and unjust, but not entirely like that. It's unwelcoming to his culture and heritage, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily hated by everyone for it. Something that he deals with as a person on the inside. As the movie progresses and the years go on and he gets visibly older, which is weird that making like Cillian Murphy look older. Like, have you seen that man? He still looks like he's 30. His worldview starts to become hateful and depressing, and all these unjust things that he noticed before are starting to become prevalent in the world today. Well, not today, because he wasn't alive. He's not alive anymore. He's very dead. He becomes numb to everything except his own grief. This is what's shown in the film, the way that they make it. The performances are groundbreaking in Oppenheimer. Every single actor performs exactly what their character is written to be. It's like as if the person was just being filmed while these events were happening. Whether that be hateful, jealous, or guilt-ridden, every single character gets across exactly what they need to. Without RDJ, Emily Blunt, and Cillian Murphy's stellar performances, this movie just couldn't be the same. Like, if they had casted any other actors for any of these roles, I don't think it would be that good, man. Of course, every other part of this movie is good, but I already made a list of that earlier about those things, you know, when I listed off a bunch of stuff that was good. One thing I do want to talk about is Christopher Nolan himself. The man made this movie happen. He literally set off a fucking nuke for this film. Like, how dedicated do you have to be to set off an atomic bomb for a movie. That shit is crazy, dude. This is dedication at its finest. He is the embodiment of an amazing director. Without his work with the rest of the cast and the crew, this movie could not have been as amazing as it is. This is so clearly a Christopher Nolan movie, and I love it. I absolutely fucking love this. It's absolutely one of his best films, if not the best, or like a contender for the best. No matter what, the man put in work, and you can't help but respect that. Like, seriously. It's amazing how he did this. This film is about a man who created something he didn't even really want to. He made inevitable death rain from above. It is phenomenal, and there are few words to exactly describe this movie. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is a 10 out of 10. If I could go higher, I would, but we aren't doing that because we aren't in like 5th grade, so. Although there are a few words, there is one quote that can sum up this movie. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.